Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is July the 16th. It's a Wednesday today. We do have core PPI in the markets that is going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We still have some earnings as well. As for the overall market, you can see a little bit of reaction with CPI. We'll talk about some of the levels. The ES actually ended up rejecting off of our key level from last week. And then for the NQ, just a bunch of divergence yesterday. The only really tickers that are holding up were primarily the semiconductors, which we ended up talking about. So the semiconductors are still strong in the overall markets. Besides that, most of these other names kind of selling off, coming right back inside the range. Talk about the charts here in a second. Good morning. What's up, KO? Good morning, Jeff, Nontali. Good morning, Ricardo, JT, Robert, Ryan, Damien, Fan. What's up, Juan, Daniela, Josh, Joseph, Martin, Grion. What's up, Smart, Darth. Good morning, everyone. Audrey, Moni, Sassy. What's up, Cuba, Wayne, Teddy, Hartik, Bina, Ashley, Vijnish, B Roots, Vate, Deuce, Farzan. Yeah, good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's go on to the major indices. Really same game plan as yesterday. We'll take a look at just a bunch of these names here, and then once 8:30 hits, we will then develop our game plan from there. Alrighty, let's head on to the major indices. Actually, before we do that, let me pull up the Forex Factory. And we can also pull this up here. So really coming into today, as you can see, the major news event that we do have is going to be core PPI. That is going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, we have some more red folder news as well, which is going to be unemployment and the core retail sales. And then on Friday, we do have the prelim consumer sentiment that is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll wait until 8:30 today. Core PPI is going to be fairly big. The major one was CPI that we had yesterday. And a lot of times you'll see the major key inflection points in the markets do happen at CPI. So let's go on to the higher time frames here for the ES. Really, as you can see, we're technically still stuck in this range that we've created. So for the ES, the key levels I had coming into yesterday was our previous week's highs, also our overnight's highs from yesterday. This was the level I wanted to see above if we wanted to see continuation. If we rejected this level, there was a potential that we could come back down and gravitate back in towards our previous high that we created the day before CPI. So this was a very key inflection point, which was the top of the range. And as you can see yesterday, right off the bat, we immediately broke back underneath our previous high that we've created, and we started gravitating all the way back down in towards our gap fill, which was on the higher time frame. So if you look at this on the ES, at least on the lower time frame wise, you end up having an immediate retest once we got back underneath this key overnight high, and now price actually ended up gravitating all the way back down in towards the low of the range. So for the ES, as you can see here, we're just basically going from the top of the range all the way down towards the bottom of the range. And it's a good example of, right, the markets not having continuation. It's just going from the top, as I mentioned, all the way back down towards the bottom. And now you can see some buyers are kind of stepping in off the bottom of the range. So for the overall indices, if we're just in between this range high and range low, all we're going to be doing is actually looking for primarily mean reversions, at least on the ES and NQ. The only tickers that are bullish, we'll talk about this, is the SMH. You can see right here, the SMH is up 2%, whereas the SPY was down 0.4%, and then the QQQ is basically flat. So the SMH is the most bullish indice, and that's essentially what we've identified in the past couple of months, is just semiconductors continuing to show strength towards the upside. So for the ES, at least, key level still is going to be this 6259, and then the top of the range now is going to be this 6336. Anything in between here is just going to primarily be intraday movement. So you're going to have to go into the lower time frames and just mark out key pivot levels, right? Opening ranges. You can mark out your Monday's lows here as well if you'd like. These are other levels that aren't as strong as these higher time frame key levels, but you can also mark out these lower time frame levels as well. So levels today on the ES is just primarily going to be your Monday's lows, which you can see there's multiple touches. If you can reclaim this level, potentially we can see this mean reversion back up and towards your previous day close, which is going to be your 6296. If we consolidate, get back underneath your Monday's lows, then the next level is going to be all the way back down in towards our 6260. As for the SPY, similar thesis, right? There's not really as much of a clear direction. We'll wait for PPI that is going to be at 830, but key levels for the SPY coming into today. After yesterday, the key levels we had was our 626. Once we got back underneath your pre-market lows, as you can see, that's when we're expecting a little bit more of a bearish intraday price movements. And that's when we end up filling the gap back towards the downside, 625. And this eventually gravitated all the way down in towards your previous day lows. So coming into today here for the SPY, what I'd like to see is the reaction that we have off of your 621. Your 621 is going to be key. If you can maintain your 621, which is your Monday's lows, you can see this push back up in towards your 623. Only way I'm a little bit more short bias underneath your Monday's lows, underneath your key level from yesterday for this push back down in towards your pre-market lows here and below. If we go on to the NQ chart, the NQ in this case, as you can see, is still a little bit more bullish overall than the SPY in itself. As you can see, the SPY is coming back down. That's funny. There's a mosquito. And the SPY is coming back down into... that's actually distracting. When the SPY is coming back down into its double bottom, the NQ is actually making this higher low. It's actually very annoying. Sorry. For the NQ, as you can see, we're actually making a higher low here on the higher time frames, whereas no, I actually did not get it. It's still alive. But for the ES, as you can see, it's coming back to the double bottom. For the NQ, we're making this higher low. So we're making this higher low, so you can see the NQ is bullish, whereas the ES is following that double bottom. So for the NQ, really the key level that we have marked out is our 2380. This is the level that we really want to see price maintain, and we also wanted to see it hold yesterday above our pre-market high that we created in the overnight session. So for the NQ, what we had yesterday was your 23,160. Our 23,160 was the level. We weren't able to close back above this level, so you can see a little bit of a head and shoulders here, and that's why price pushed towards the downside. At least for the overall NQ in itself, I am still very much bearish. You can see, as I mentioned, these higher lows are still being built. So if you can reclaim back above our 23,080, we can see this continue push back up and towards, potentially your previous day highs here and above. Yeah, the mosquito is probably going to come back. Mosquitoes are so annoying. For the QQQ, let's go on to the 15-minute here on the Qs. Levels that I have drawn out on this name is going to be this 5,570. So if I actually refine this level, let's mark this out. We also have our 557. And then we also have other levels here as well, which aren't as important. So for the Qs coming into today, what I would like to see is, for more upside, the reclaim back above our 557.50 here, which is your last week's highs. And we have multiple touches here as well. That's actually a huge mosquito. That's actually crazy. But yeah, 557 is going to be key. And then for some more downside, I'm not as interested in downside on the NQ. If I'm going to look for anything, it's primarily going to be SPY. So basically, this is how it goes, right? Right now, currently, SMH is the strongest. So that is the semiconductors. And then we have the QQQs. And then we have the SPY. So the SMH is the strongest, so primarily we want to be longing the semiconductors as long as they maintain above key levels. And then the next one is going to be the Qs, and then it's going to be the SPY. So if we're going to long anything, it's going to be on the left hand side. If you want to short anything, it's going to be on the right hand side because these ones are a little bit weaker. So that's basically how it's been going for the past few months. And as long as it maintains, that's what we're going to be looking for. So QQQ coming to today, 557 is going to be the key level that we're going to keep an eye out on. As for SPY, key level is going to be the 621 for the NQ. You can actually refine these levels, but the NQ, yeah, key level 23,100. We can mark out intraday levels here as well. Most likely now we can just mark out this Monday's key pivot point. Let me color code these ones as well. So that's what I have for the NQ coming into this session. As you can see, basically on the higher time frames, right, the indices haven't been trending. So we'll just wait for core PPI to see if there's any general direction that the market wants to choose. Now let's go on to some tech names. Some of the tech names, we'll head on to the semiconductors here in a second. So for Tesla coming into today, really Tesla, we failed to break above and hold above our 317 here on the higher time frames. I'm actually not sure where my other levels went as well. But what we have here on Tesla is our 317. And we also have our last week's pivot high, which is this 314 on the higher time frame. So for Tesla, levels that we have marked out is our 314, which was our last week's highs, our Friday's highs, also our Monday's lows. So as you can see in this case, price really was showing relative weakness compared to the overall QQQ. Tesla pushed towards the downside while the Qs was essentially holding up all day yesterday. And then eventually when the Qs dropped, Tesla was showing a little bit more relative weakness and we continued towards the downside. So for Tesla coming into today, similar level still applies. It's going to be this 314. If we can reclaim this level, we can see this continue push back up and towards your 317. If we end up rejecting off your 314, showing some weakness, lower highs being presented, we can potentially be looking for a continuation back down in towards your previous day close along with your pre-market lows. So 314 is going to be the key inflection point for Tesla today. I personally haven't really been paying attention to Tesla. I've looked at it, but primarily it's been the semiconductor since we've been very bullish. But for Tesla, if we can show some strength above 314, I would be interested if it can show relative strength coming into today. As for the semiconductors, so semiconductors, as you can see right here, the levels that I'm having marked out are all based off of intraday levels. So the intraday levels I have marked out is going to be your previous day highs and your previous day lows. So we end up having this gap up with news yesterday, which was fairly bullish. Now you can see the overall market is consolidating. So now what I'd like to see on Nvidia is this day two mover towards the upside. So as you can see, just a lot of consolidation yesterday, was not able to break above really even this pre-market range. So you can see this pre-market high and this pre-market low has not been mitigated. So coming into today here on Nvidia, normally speaking, if day one is consolidation, then we can have a potential day two mover. And along with the SPY and Qs yesterday, it basically was dropping. So now if the Qs in SPY can potentially have a mean reversion today, we can see a nice move here on Nvidia back up in towards 173 and potentially above. So what we'll be looking for today here on Nvidia is one of two scenarios. Number one is the dip down in towards your 169.50 for this pushback towards the upside. We already hit it yesterday and we already hit it here in the pre-market as well. So the other scenario that I'll be looking for is really just this consolidation, break above your opening range, and we could be looking for this continued push up in towards your previous day highs and your pre-market highs from yesterday. So that's what we'll be looking at for Nvidia coming into today. Other levels, right, 169. Unless it breaks, I'm not short bias on Nvidia, at least intraday, until we can break underneath this 169. So I'm much more leaning towards the upside just because the overall semis in itself are holding up. Let's go into the other semiconductor here, which is AMD. This one, higher time frame bullish as well. Key levels that we have marked out yesterday was this daily gap. So this daily gap that we talked about, 158.94. This is your daily time frame gap all the way back from November of last year. This is what I wanted to see fill yesterday. We came very close, about 10 points off of your, sorry, about 1 point off of your full daily gap. But unfortunately, we weren't able to hit it. But now you can see for AMD, similar chart to Nvidia. Key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be your previous day lows along with your previous day highs. So coming into today here for AMD, what I'd like to see now is to maintain above your previous day lows for this continued push back up in towards your previous day highs and your full daily gap fill, which is going to be this 185. A few other tech names here as well. As for Microsoft, this one ended up having this nice push yesterday. Once we got above your previous day highs, we end up forming this nice kind of downtrend that once we broke, continuation up and towards your all-time highs. Now, not too much to talk about. If you want to see continuation, now it's going to be above your 506.70s. As for Apple, similar thesis, not really too much to talk about on this one on the higher time frames. We are building this higher time frame wedge pattern where currently it is just consolidating and building up liquidity to both sides. So until we're able to, number one, reclaim back above 210, now we're going to have to break above this trend line for this continued push back up and towards your 214.50. As for Meta key levels, it is coming right back down in towards our 708. So what I like to see still 708 hold here on the higher time frames, and then eventually start pushing back up and towards your 728. As for Google, this is one of my favorite looking names. So Google on the higher time frames now is looking to retest its previous level that we broke out from. So as you can see, multiple touches. Now Google, as long as you maintain above your 182, we can expect this to continue back towards the upside. So for Google, higher time frame point of interest, as you can see right here, this is where we broke out from. We finally had that daily candle close yesterday. We actually had a pretty big drop right at the end of the day, but as long as you maintain now above your 182.50, I would like to see this continue higher. The best is going to be above your previous day highs and above your Monday's highs for continuation, but we can also be looking for the 182.50 hold. As for Amazon, this one on the higher time frame does look good. I keep talking about this one, but higher time frames, it's just a very slow mover just because, right, Bezos is selling and then every single pop kind of just been shorting into. So this one, we're just not able to get above your 226.50s. So really, you're either going to be looking for the 224. I would be a little bit more hands off on Amazon, but key level now is going to be this 226.50 here as well. Is it cutting in and out? Yeah, if it's cutting in and out, you can always try and reset the stream. It should be fine on my end, but I'm not exactly sure. And then what we do have is that's about it. So if you guys do have any charts, you guys can drop them in the chat. Let me grab some water here. Yeah, what's good, everyone? Let's see. If you guys do have any charts, you guys can drop them in the chat or any tickers you'd like me to go over. We have about 10 minutes until core PPI. That's going to be the major red folder news event today. So we'll just wait until then and for us to develop our game plan. Let's see. What's your take on the Nvidia weekly chart? Yeah, every single dip has again bought up. So now for Nvidia, if you're looking at this on the weekly time frame, right, very strong push towards the upside. At least on the weekly chart, our level of support technically is all the way back down in towards our 150. So we very much well could, right, only if the market drops. But really, this is your major level support here on the weekly time frame, back in towards your 150. So far, every single dip has gone bought up. So as long as we maintain key levels, we can expect it to continue higher. And so far, you can see big gap towards the upside. We also had news here as well. We are getting a little bit overextended here on the daily chart, but now the key levels is going to be this 169.50. The drawings, yeah, the area of the drawings, you can find these on the free version. The actual drawing tools that I use is not TradingView, but this is Zoom It. Okay, let me scroll down here. As for Palantir, yesterday, nice hold of our 148. This is our previous all-time highs, as you can see right here. So Palantir holding above your 148. Now what you really like to see for continuation, break back above your Monday's highs, 149 for this continue push up and towards your 150.50 and above. So that's going to be key for Palantir. As for HIMS, the key level that we have marked out yesterday was our 51.50. Real no reaction around your previous high that we've created. Now what you like to see, it's still bullish on the higher time frames, reclaim back above your 51.50 for continuation. If you reject off this level, it's going to do the opposite and come right back down in towards your previous day close. Yeah, once I end the stream, I'm gonna smack this mosquito. But BBAI, the key level that we have is your 720 higher time frame. Really, this is the level you like to see it get above for a continuation. So far, you can see daily chart putting in a nice kind of daily candle right off this daily gap. So as you can see so far, we're defending your daily gap here. Now what I like to see is this potential kind of continue push back towards the upside. So in this case, what we have is going to be your 720. So your 720 here is going to be key for this continue pushback up in towards your 750 here and above. Oracle. As for Oracle, higher time frame key levels that we have marked out yesterday was our previous day highs. So our previous day highs, you can see, ended up holding. This was a key level for Oracle if we wanted to see continuation higher. Now you can see, at least on the 1 hour chart, this one's showing some nice strength, kind of defending exactly where. Let me go over some semiconductor. I'll go over some more semiconductors and I'll go over some Bitcoin sympathies as well. As for Hood, this one's still holding up. Compared to the overall market, key levels that we do have is your 100 key psych level. And now what we like to see really for Hood is above 100. If we can maintain above 100 and hold, we can see this next leg towards the upside. Also for Hood, right, you can see a couple touches and a couple of rejections off the top. So if we do reject off of this key level in this trend line here, potentially you can see a little bit of a mean reversion. But overall, Hood, higher time frames, flat top break, you like to see this continuation above your 100 key psych. All right, let's go over some Bitcoin sympathies. In this case, coin yesterday dropped about 25 points to end off the day, but higher time frame still very much bullish. All-time highs is one of my main objectives. You can see, right, big drop, but instantly bought right back up. Key levels now, similar thing to yesterday, if I'm going to refine it, is now just going to be your previous day highs along with your Tuesday's highs here. So this is the key level that we have on coin. We can mark this out. So levels that we have is your 380 along with our 398. What I'd like to see now on coin is this push up in towards your 398 for some more upside. Also, we could be looking for above your previous day highs 398 for continuation. As for MSTR, you can see this one holding up nicely here as well above your 437. What I like to see here on MSTR now is going to be this consolidation break. So break above, consolidation. Next level above your 452 for this continued pushback towards the upside. Okay, let's see. Did you trade any ideas you shared on Twitter? Yeah, the one on AMD. That was my main one. Primarily the semiconductors. Those were the most bullish names, and that's what I was looking for. Please review SoFi. Yeah, SoFi holding up nicely here as well. Higher time frame dips. What I like to see now in SoFi is just the hold of your 2080. This is the day that we had news, so this day is very important. So as you can see, so far markets essentially just been defending your 2080 here on SoFi. As long as you maintain your 2080, you'd like to see this continue push back towards the upside. If we end up breaking back underneath your 2080, we can see a little bit more downside. So that's why this is going to be a very key level. Thank you so much, Shay. Much appreciated. Yes, ASML key levels in this case. If I draw this out, we also do have earnings season as well. If I bring up the earnings calendar, I guess I don't have that, but we do have some earnings. Netflix is reporting tomorrow. We just had ASML. This one just had earnings in the pre-market in this case. So key levels now, you're down about 8%. Key levels for ASML is going to be this 736, and you also have your 773 marked out. So on the higher time frames, key levels that we have marked out 772. It does seem like if it maintains underneath your 772, next levels towards the downside is going to be all the way at your 736 here on the higher time frames. Whenever you're trading these earnings names, if you are looking for a potential continuation lower, what you want to wait for is an IV flush. All right, let me scroll down here. We do have about 2 minutes until core PPI. Let me just answer some questions here. Suppose the earnings is in 2 to 3 days. When do you think? When do you think does that news start affecting the stock's volatility? So the volatility kicks in. That's why the actual implied volatility after the earnings event is going to be high. So that's why the IV is high. So the volatility, generally speaking, probably won't kick in until we actually have the earnings event. Sometimes we have what's called a pre-anticipatory run towards the upside. There's some criteria that you'll be looking for that, but primarily it's just going to consolidate before earnings and then have a big move after earnings because that's what everyone's waiting for. So that's why the IV will be high before earnings. Let me go here on SMH as well. Broke towards the upside. Opening range, retest the zone, and we get a nice entry towards upside. On the same day, we come back to the low. Could be looking for the retest and take another entry. Yeah, you can always, that's actually a good question. My video today where I'm actually going to explain the 3 entry models within the opening range. So we have the breakout, we have the break and retest, and we also have the reversal as well. Primarily we trade just the break and retest because that's, my opinion, the best entry model. But I'm also laying out the breakout because sometimes you'll see price doesn't always come back to retest. And then there's also another scenario, which is the reversal setup, which is primarily for major indices, especially if the market is ranging. You're going to be looking for a lot more mean reversions and reversal setups instead of continuation. So that's going to be my video tonight, explaining essentially the entry models on those. It just seems like we had core PPI here as well. Let me pull this up. You're timing out. Yeah, if I'm timing out, you can also refresh the stream and it should be a little bit better. For the SoFi, yes. Yeah, SoFi, I love SoFi. This one reminds me, as I mentioned, a lot of Hood early stages. Will this stock ever go down? Carvana, no. This one's crazy. It's probably one of the best recoveries. It went down like 99%, and now it's basically back to those COVID levels. Okay, so we just had core PPI here in the overall markets. You can see a little bit of a reaction here. Key levels, at least the numbers came in. So as you can see, actual forecasted 0%, and then the forecasted was 0.2. So came in a little bit lower than expected for core PPI. In this case, the overall market so far is just coming back to retest kind of its previous day close level. So fairly neutral on core PPI. And now we're just basically going to be looking at the reaction that we have off of your previous day close along with your previous day lows as well. So coming into today for the QQQ, what we have here is your 557. So our 557 here is going to be key. As I mentioned, if we want to see some more upside, reclaim back above your 557 for this continue push higher. If we reject off this level, I'm not as interested in looking for a short position, but this is also in play below your 557 here for the Qs. As for the NQ, the levels that I have drawn out in this case is your 23,100 with the exact same thesis for the NQ. And then for the ES, similar thing here. It's actually reclaiming back above your Monday's lows. We're coming back up and towards its previous day close here as well. So this is the level that we can have marked out. So for the ES, similar thing. If we reclaim, we can see this mean reversion back up in towards your yesterday's range. If we reject off this level, I'm not as interested in shorts, but this could play out if we end up rejecting off of your previous day lows here for the ES. All right, so with this pop here, let's see what happened to the overall semiconductor. So the semiconductors didn't really have a reaction, but these are going to be my main watches today. It's going to be a potential day 2 move after news and this big gap up on Nvidia along with AMD, primarily Nvidia because this is directly the one that had news yesterday. AMD is just a sympathy, so we can keep an eye out on this one here as well. But Nvidia is going to be my main watch today for a push up and towards your previous day highs and above. As for a few other names that I'm somewhat interested in is going to be Tesla, kind of the reaction that we have off of your Monday's highs, your last week's highs, which is your 314. As for every other name in the market, we can also keep an eye out on Google just because it's retesting your 182, but the best names to trade have been the semiconductors. Everything else has been kind of mediocre, like Tesla, Apple, just not as much volatility with the overall indices themselves. So we'll just keep focusing on Nvidia and we'll be looking for a continuation on the semis. Okay, let me go over a few more names here as well. Can you explain what happens with the CPI with this? Yeah, so basically these red folder news events will come. In this case, yesterday we had CPI, and then today we had core PPI. And whenever we have red folder news events, it's going to affect the market. So you can see right at 8:30, you can see these big pops, and that's what's basically key economic news events will affect the market like this. So normally speaking, they will happen at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also do have other red folder news events that's going to impact the market, which is going to be FOMC. So FOMC, that one is going to be the other one that's actually at 2 p.m. It only happens once a month. Yeah, let's take a look at some of these semis here. TSM, nice push yesterday up and towards our all-time highs level. This one looks good if we can now get above your previous all-time highs along with your previous day highs here as well. So nice reclaim. Nice gap up above key levels, holding above your 230-250 for this push up and towards your all-time highs. Now for TSM, what you like to see is this push up in towards your all-time highs and continuation right off the bat. So this one looks good for this push higher. If we're looking at a few other semiconductors, MU really not doing too much compared to the overall market. AVGO, this one also hit all-time highs yesterday. Key level for AVGO now is just going to be your previous day highs along with your high that we created last week, which is going to be this 281.20. So for AVGO, what you would like to see is the reclaim back above your 281 for this push higher. As for yesterday, right, nice kind of retest off of your high that we created on Monday. So key level 281 here for AVGO. Okay, let's see, founded rectangle, yes, that is the rectangle, and then you have the settings. Video tonight, let's go, always get so many gems, thank you. Yeah, videos are always every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. IWM, why not trade the breakout with a tight stop just below the key level? It's breaking out. Of sell close to previous, sell close to high of day as possible, then wait on the retest. It's because the breakout's more discretionary. Right, whenever you're trading breakouts, sometimes they could fail very quickly. So that's why if you are trading breakouts, the only time I do that is primarily on the reclaim setup. So it's basically like a failed, first time it failed to hold. And then the second time, if you have a reclaim, I'll trade the breakout. Technically, it's a reclaim. It's not really a breakout. So that's the only time I will go be a little bit more aggressive is when we have those higher time frame setups. Normally speaking, if you are looking for a breakout, it has to have strict criteria with news plus higher time frames. That's the only time I want to be that aggressive is when that criteria is set up. But the best entry is always going to be that retest because of the low risk that it offers, and it's the best setup as well because you can manage your position. What semiconductor should we focus on? The leading semiconductor, which is Nvidia. And then if you look for any other semiconductors, you can keep an eye out on AMD. We have a basket of them, which will be like TSM, MU, you have AVGO. You also have other ones as well. But the primary one is going to be Nvidia because that one's the leader. Yeah, as for Oracle, I already went over this one. The key level on Oracle is going to be your previous day highs. If you can hold this one, next level is going to be that 237. Okay. What are the zones that you have marked? They're just old highs and old lows. So every old high and old low is just marked out because these levels have the most liquidity. What do you say? What's in a sympathy? It's sympathy is just so you have the main leader. So let's say, for example, you have Bitcoin and they have Bitcoin sympathy, which is going to be directly impacted with Bitcoin moving. Same with the semiconductors. If you have Nvidia moving, what's directly correlated? AMD. So that's technically a sympathy because AMD is the leader. So everything is essentially going to follow along what AMD is doing, especially if it's a semiconductor. Okay. You very well have a good setup today. Yeah, for Nvidia, hopefully it doesn't hit your previous day highs before market opens. But this one, in my opinion, you want to keep an eye out on this one, especially within the first 30 minutes to an hour today because of the news that it had on day yesterday. And then plus just consolidation yesterday as well. Usually day two, if it doesn't move on day one, you can have day two continuation and have clear targets above on this ticker. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. As I mentioned, I kind of already laid out my game plan, but we're just going to be looking for primarily the semiconductors for continuation. As for the SPY and Qs, right, I'm not as bullish on the SPY as the Qs. I'm a little bit more bullish, and of course, SMH still very strong compared to the rest of the market. So what I'll be looking for is really the reaction that we have on QQQ's 557 SPY. Now we're just going to keep an eye out on your 621.50s, and then we're just going to keep an eye out on the major semiconductors. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. I'm going to get ready for market open. As always, if you guys did enjoy that, appreciate it if you guys hit the like button and sub. I also have a free watch list. That one is in the description below. So if you guys do want to have like a condensed format, that's going to be in the description for the video. And then of course I always post my game plan now on X, so if you guys haven't followed me on X, you guys can do so. All right, that's going to be it for me, and I'm going to get ready for market open. All right, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Peace. Also, YouTube video tonight 5 p.m.